and welcome to Jen, Alyssa, and Ava, and frankly everyone else's favorite Lower Merion TV show beside the Gavel. I'm Andy Gavrin, Lower Merion Commissioner, Vice President of the Board of Commissioners, and your host. And this month I'm here with the newest Township employee and Lower Merion's new Assistant Township Manager, Brandon Ford. Welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
So we're going to spend a little time interviewing you, so let's go. Brandon, Beside the Gavel is a great way to introduce yourself to the Lower Merion community. It's the most watched show on Lower Merion TV. It's really where kind of everyone gets their information. So I noticed on your LinkedIn profile there's a picture of Citizens Bank Park. I assume you're a Phillies fan?
I am. I am. Although, as I was sharing with you earlier, my wife is a New Yorker. So, being a Phillies fan in my household comes with, dangers. Living with a Yankee fan.
Okay, interview's over. Wow.
Yeah, I love my wife nonetheless.
Okay.
But, it
we're
has...
all flawed.
Love her even with the flaws, especially because of the flaws. It has generated a little bit of a Cold War in our house over the souls of our children, because we do have 3 beautiful, lovely children.
Okay.
That it's increasingly buying Phillies and Yankees gear for. So, they have lots of baseball gear.
Okay.
We try to go out whenever we can, and unfortunately it's usually restricted to the household because we can't agree on, which game to watch.
I would not bring them out in public. And the next time we have a township bonfire, we'll make sure to bring her all her gear.
I might buy some just to toss in, just to, love her though.
Perfect. So before you joined the township, you just joined in July.
I did.
So what were you doing before you came here?
So before I joined the Lower Merion team, I was a assistant township manager in Springfield Township.
Okay.
In Montgomery County. So I was kind of doing a lot of the stuff that I'm currently doing here in terms of assisting the township manager and overseeing departments. I was really engaged with the community and dealing with customer, needs and requests and of that nature, and just supporting our department heads and getting their operations to the next level and maintaining a high quality of service for the community.
Gotcha. So I'm going to stop for a second. You mentioned Springfield Township in Montgomery County.
That is correct.
Most people are familiar with Springfield, Delaware County, right?
Yeah,
it's a different place, correct?
I'm well aware of Delco. That's the township that shall not be named in that previous employee. But yeah, so fun fact, there's about 9 Springfield Townships in Pennsylvania alone, 3 of which in the greater Philadelphia area, in Montgomery, Delco, and in Bucks. So a lot of phone calls from people calling the wrong Springfield. But yeah, so Springfield, Montgomery County.
I just had an idea. Somebody should make like a cartoon where it's set in Springfield and you have no idea where in the country it is.
I like that. Yeah. Make it a cartoon too.
Pending. I like
yeah.
So you were at Springfield, where most of your job was answering those phone calls saying, nope, wrong Springfield Township. Right?
Luckily, most of the, some of our frontline office got it to, before it got to me, but an occasional one
slipped through.
So and the one time it took me a while before I realized we're not the Springfield you want to talk to. But yeah, so. But a lot of it is just supporting the departments in terms of things that go beyond the daily operations of the township, in terms of like special projects and that nature.
So what were some of the big special projects you had over there that really you feel like you made a difference in that township?
Yeah. So one of the things was the American Rescue Act stuff.
Okay.
I was the administrator for those funds for the township.
Okay.
Granted, it was only $2 million, but $2 million for a relatively smaller community, it was quite a bit.
Yeah.
So kind of knowing the ins and outs of that program, since it was just a large influx of cash. Also, being the resident millennial on staff, a lot of the technical upgrades fell into my office. Whether it was GIS implementation or, launch of a brand new website during COVID, no less, that was fun experience.
Yeah.
So those were kind of some of the high level stuff.
Okay. So the $2 million that Springfield got, what did they do with it for, with that ARP money?
Yeah, so that was kind of a long conversation, a lot of public input. A lot of it's going for stormwater infrastructure.
Okay.
You know, because stormwater, no matter where you go, stormwater is always an issue, regardless of the community.
Of course.
So a lot of it is going into whether it's purchasing land to build new basins or stream bank stabilization kind of projects.
Gotcha. Okay. So one thing I also noticed, I'm going to do another LinkedIn. See, I want to prove to my audience that I do my research. I don't just come up here and wing things. But I noticed on LinkedIn, before you were assistant township manager, you were assistant to the township manager. Now, I just watched The Office with my girls. So my question is, Dwight or Jim?
I would say Jim. Absolutely Jim. I love Jim's sense of humor.
Okay.
And sometimes Dwight just deserves it. Yeah, throughout the entire series, he just deserved it left and right. So.
Fair enough. Have you played any practical jokes? Anyone's stapler going to Jello or anything like that?
Not here yet.
Okay.
I figured I can't make enemies that fast.
Okay.
I have to get on everyone's good side until they get to know me, and then I can start doing the pranks.
Just 2 words, Lori Jennings.
I'll keep that in mind.
Everyone will be happy if you prank her.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So, anyway, back to so before Springfield, you were with Norristown.
I was.
Right. What did you? So different size. Springfield's a relatively small community.
Yep.
Norristown's a lot bigger.
Yep.
What did you do in Norristown?
I was also the assistant to the manager there as well.
Okay.
Being a native from the Scranton region, I was a real big Office fan,
Perfect.
so I had to make sure I requested the to the in the title. I'm joking, but so there was a lot more of supporting the administrator. They don't have an assistant administrator there.
Okay.
So I kind of filled that role, and I was the first to fill that role in Norristown.
Oh, wow.
So the position was created, and I was the first assistant township or borough administrator there. And it was just a lot, same role, kind of facilitating, helping the departments, taking on special projects, whether it be more beautification kind of stuff, or the implementation of a brand new capital improvement plan, because capital planning was relatively new to that borough.
Wow.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they're in a tougher economic state, so
Sure.
They really didn't have the funds, and the administrator at the time was relatively new and brought new ideas such as capital planning for long-term
Great
investments.
idea. Yep.
Yeah, never a bad idea. Just
No.
think that when you think about it. So assisting him in that way.
Gotcha. So there's something I saw, Keep Norristown Beautiful.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so towards the tail end of my time in Norristown, I was appointed the executive director, in addition to my assistant duties, of an initiative called Keep Norristown Beautiful. Norristown did not have an environmental board. They did
Okay.
not have a shade tree commission.
Wow.
They did not have any of those advisory boards that would, in any other communities, supplement the efforts of the township to, be more environmentally friendly and,
Right.
Implement sustainability measures. So Keep Norristown Beautiful was, Norristown's solution to that,
Okay.
where it was coordinating efforts to be more environmentally focused, to keep Norristown beautiful, whether it be organizing volunteer efforts for cleanups or just initiating various projects,
Okay.
such as waste reduction in the township building, or a lot of the stuff that our Lower Merion's sustainability manager is doing.
Gotcha.
But more on a relatively part-time basis.
Okay. So what was it when you saw the posting for the role here? What was it that you said, yeah, I want to apply for that?
Just the fact that it was Lower Merion. Lower Merion is a first-class township, not only by designation,
Right.
but by reputation as well. So, having worked in Montgomery County for the last 8 years in various townships and boroughs, the reputation of Lower Merion precedes it, and the reputation out there is Lower Merion is a first-class township in everything and name. The
Yeah.
staff is great. The elected officials are great. Some brownie points for me. There you go. But when the opportunity arose, I jumped at it. So I saw this as a great opportunity to join an amazing team for an amazing community.
I think it's one thing that we forget a lot being here. and you mentioned, they never had a capital, improvement plan in Norristown, and they didn't have sustainability initiatives. And the ARP money that went to Springfield Township was $2 million, where here it's $25 million. Yep. It really, we take it for granted sometimes. I know on the board, I forget about that sometimes, and some of the amazing staff and the resources and all of the abilities to really make a difference here. And it's great to be reminded of that every once in a while, and how fortunate we are to live in a township where we have those resources and we can make a difference in sustainability and creating, like we're using our ARP money, as you know, to do the Ardmore Community Center, and really make a big difference and change people's lives.
Absolutely.
It's really an exciting opportunity.
Yeah. All the achievements and the accomplishments of Lower Merion, the other townships do take note, that we do keep tabs on each other, and Lower Merion is consistently at the top of where townships and staffs and other municipalities look to, hey, let's see what Lower Merion is doing. So when this position opened, I wanted to be part of that.
That's awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you here. I know you spent a lot of time with is it the Consortium of Communities in Montgomery County?
Yep.
Right, you were the president of that group,
currently
right?
still am the president.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the consortium is a council of governments, and it represents 52 out of the 62 municipalities in Montgomery County.
Okay. So you get that breadth of view, which is really nice, and we'll talk after the break, where the goons behind the camera are in my ear telling me it's time to go for a break right now.
I think I see them, yeah.
Yeah, but after the break, we'll talk a little bit more about your plans for for your time here at Lower Merion. So we will be right back after these words from our sponsor. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm still Andy Gavrin, Vice President of the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners. This is still Brandon Ford, Assistant Township Manager, and you're still watching Beside the Gavel. So Brandon, you just started, but
I did.
Unquestionably, the Township Manager, Ernie McNeely, has got you hard at work already. I'm guessing on your first day, it was already a stack of papers on your desk.
There was.
What are you working on?
Just trying to get a sense of, the breadth of all the departments. That's been one of my primary goals. But as you know, it's budget season.
Yes,
so
it is.
It's been nonstop back-to-back budget meetings with all the departments, and seeing not only where they are and where they plan to be in the coming future.
Yeah.
And personally, I found it as a great opportunity to kind of get to know all the departments too. And the great way to find out what a department does is by looking at their numbers and what they're spending it on, right? Follow the money, exactly. And not only what they're doing, but what they want to do. Because that's all encapsulated in the budget too.
Right. So budget, it's interesting that you bring it up, because the budget process is a really involved process. Do you know enough to kind of walk us through the budget process, or not yet? Like how it starts with the departments? And
well, the interesting thing about municipal budgets in general is that, it really depends on the community, because every community does it differently, right? From what I've learned here, we're very engaged, we're very involved with the different departments. Yeah. With various department meetings, to go over their specific budgets, because, they're experts in their realms of expertise. As, Ernie and I tend to be, experts in administrating all those expertise, right? So, in terms of the budget, Lower Merion, all the departments submit all their budgets or their requests to the finance and to the township manager's office, and then the township manager's office, myself, Ernie, and our finance directors and assistant director meet with each department. Okay. And through those meetings, we review their requests, and some things stay, some things don't. We change the numbers based on how we think the financial outlook of the township is going to be. And then once we polish those numbers up, we present it to the board for consideration and for your comments. And if numbers need to be changed again, we change them again. Yeah. No, but from what I understand, we see it pretty, I'll say, late in the process, right? There's a lot of work that our departments put in on the budget, and a lot of work that the manager's office then
sitting down with department heads and the leadership of each department.
Yeah.
So when we get it, we get the easy job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Administration and finance try to polish the budget as much as possible so that our job here is to make your job easy, right?
Right.
So we try to polish it up and make it as tolerable as possible for when it does go to the board and to the public.
Yeah.
It's pretty much at the tail end of the process.
Yeah. And thank you for making our job easy because commissioners like Mike McKeon would really struggle if it wasn't. So.
Oh wow.
It's really appreciated. So you talked about like being experts in administration. What got you into this in the first place? Like getting into local government administration?
So actually, Andy, this is my second career in life.
Okay.
Before I was in government, I taught government, so I was a teacher for a number of years.
Okay.
And then with everything good in life except for baseball teams, my wife actually pointed to the Villanova Masters of Public Administration program. And I remember her telling me that she knows me better than I know me, and that I would really like this program. And I was at that point where I was fine, but I wasn't really feeling teaching.
Okay.
So she's like, go and try it out. So I enrolled and I took a couple classes and I had an internship or two, and then I ended up in Norristown where I got my first full-time job in government, and I've loved it ever since.
That's really cool.
Yeah, don't tell my wife that.
No. Oh, she'll take all the credit anyway. No, but it's great when you find your passion, right?
Yeah.
You find a job that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people, all my teacher friends, as I call them, they see me now and they're like, you were great, teaching, but you seem really happy, and
that's awesome.
No doubt that you're, great doing what you're doing now. And it's like, yeah, that kind of makes it full circle for me.
Don't worry, we'll beat it out of you. Nah, it's
right?
Great. Yeah, exactly. So what else is coming down the pipeline? Budget? Anything else?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to get my feet wet a little bit and kind of get the lay of the land. But one of the things that we're going to be looking at is a compensation evaluation, kind of looking at all the different job descriptions. And Lower Merion, we have a lot of positions, a lot of duties and responsibilities, and taking a look at all of them and comprehensively, and looking at the evaluation system for pay and compensation.
Right.
That is something that is warranted every so often, and we just find ourselves in that time where and given that we have so many positions, it's going to be a little bit of an undertaking too, right? Because you don't want to piecemeal it. That's something that you really need to take holistically.
So how does that fit in with the fact that we're for the most part, a unionized workforce between the Fraternal Order of Police and the Workers Association?
Well, first we do the study, and then the study's going to outline a couple recommendations, and then it's conversations, with the board based, what the study results are, and then ultimately it's up to the board, to yes, we like this, no, we don't like that, and once you give us a direction, then we have those conversations with the different unions.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know another big one also, we have our police superintendent put into the drop or the DRO or
drop.
So we know he is retiring in March of 24, I believe, which means we're going to need a new police superintendent, which is going to be a very, very involved search, and I'm sure take up a lot. Is that something you're going to be working on as well?
It is. So that was going to be number 2 on my.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Stealing my thunder. But that's another thing. Doing executive level searches.
Okay.
Whether working with a firm to find a very qualified candidate.
Yeah.
And based on my understanding of the needs, is we really want an engaging process.
Yeah.
So making sure that the next superintendent is really a good fit for the community and for the needs of the department.
Absolutely, and I think it's such an important role, right? Because policing, both nationally and locally, are very visible, are very community oriented, and we need not only a great police supervisor, but also that community component as well. And it's something that I think is, I think I can speak for the board as a whole when I say it's really important to the board that we find somebody who's not just head down police officer, but also really, really involves and interacts with the community. And community policing has been such an important trend, and something that's key for the future of this township as well.
And that kind of is very parallel to what we're seeing in public administration and as a whole. You know, just the changing dynamics and the emerging trends of what people want nowadays versus government today is not the same as government like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And you could even make the argument pre and post COVID. What people expect from their government completely different.
Yeah. That was, so that you brought up COVID. It was an interesting time here. How did you deal? You were at Springfield at the time.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with that?
By the seat of our pants. No, it was very intense. I'll share with you that Springfield experienced a little bit of a transition when I joined in 2019.
Okay.
That's when I started there. Where they had a new manager as well.
Oh, wow.
Luckily, the manager was the assistant manager.
Okay.
So, there was a lot of institutional knowledge there. But, being, new assistant manager, relatively new assistant township manager, 6 months in, let's throw a global pandemic and see how they react.
Sure.
We were very on top of it. Communication was key. Unlike Lower Merion, where we have a public information officer, Lori Jennings, who handles the communications to the public. Springfield didn't have that, so it often fell on my desk to kind of get messages out. Whether what the CDC is saying about this or that.
Right.
And we did close the building for a little bit. I often joke that it was. I only worked from home for 3 months because that's the most my wife would tolerate me working from home before I went back into the office. But yeah, the township was closed for 3 months. They didn't have to cancel one meeting though.
Wow.
We did a seamless transition into I guess the Zoom was the new
Zoom.
Yeah, that was the new thing. So we did a seamless transition there, but it was a trying time. But we worked together as a team, and we were very open and transparent about things.
Nice. And I will say, as much as this pains me to say, and I can't believe I'm saying it while we're being recorded, Lori did an excellent job in getting communications out during COVID. She must have had somebody helping her because there was no way it came from her. Anyway, moving back to Lower Merion as a whole. As you were researching Lower Merion, obviously, I'm sure you researched before you came in for your interview.
Yeah.
What was there anything you're like, oh, this is where I want to, make my mark or see an improvement or really have an impact? Was there anything you saw, or was it just in general the township?
I'll say in general,
Okay.
just being part of the team, and Ernie is a world-class administrator there, so being able to work under him was an opportunity that I jumped for. But I'm also aware that you guys are very involved with the I guess you just received the sustainability plan.
Yep.
I tend to be a little bit of an eco head from time to
Okay.
time. They used to call me Captain Planet from time to time.
I won't say what they used to call me, but okay.
Being a child of the late 80s, early 90s, that moniker really hit home for me. But being able to work with Paloma and kind of taking, being green, in terms of township operations is something that, personally I have a personal passion for.
That's awesome. Anything surprise you from your time here yet, or?
Yeah. So what I think being so large, having almost 500 employees.
Yeah.
I had anticipated a little bit of a disconnect or a distance between different departments, or at least the township manager's office, but that's not the case. Everyone is very tight-knit. They know each other, they communicate each other. There is no disconnect.
That's great.
It is one cohesive, unified team, and it feels like that too.
That's all, and I've seen that from the board's perspective as well,
Yeah.
working with the department managers.
It's really nice. It's fantastic.
Really, we are lucky to have such a great staff.
Yeah.
It has been such a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for joining me on Beside the Gavel. I'm honored that this is the first Lower Merion TV show you've been on.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to make an incredible impact here, and thrilled to have you as part of the township.
Well, thanks, Andy. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and everyone, thank you so much for watching Beside the Gavel, and we'll see you next month.